Alright, today I'm going to do kind of a repeat video, but it's not. You see, one of my first videos, and one of my favorite games, is a board game that a long time ago was produced as a tie-in to a TV show called Shogun. And this actually spawned an entire series. The Milton Bradley's Game Master series, Axis and Allies, Shogun, Fortress America, I think it's called The Rise and Fall of Rome. There was one other, Boardings and Broadsides. These 5 games made up the Milton Bradley Game Master series, and that was very well received to the point where Axis and Allies is its own genre of game today. So looking at that, one of the games, my favorite, Shogun, got reprinted as Samurai Swords because it wasn't a tie-in to a TV series anymore. Then in 2010, Wizards of the Coast, who had bought Avalon Hill's resources recently, decided to co-produce IKUSa, or IKUSa if you want to pronounce it out. This is actually the same game as Samurai Swords, completely. However, it even acknowledges that fact right here. It is a fully different art redesigning of the game, so I'm going to go through a quick unboxing of this and show you what's different. The first thing I must notice, and you can see it on the front cover, is that there's some high quality, like fantasy style samurai instead of the historical images and art copies we had in the original game. Also, for some reason, the last letter in the title is lowercase. IKUSa, in Japanese, if you're pronouncing it Tokyo style, this would be the smallest one and could probably get away with this being lowercase, but you know. I don't know what Wizards of the Coast was thinking, but they were thinking it, and this is what they did. So, this is what it looks like on the outside. The primary rulebook is full color, unlike the original one, which was pretty much red and white. Well, black and white, but they had a single color of register in there. And in this one, another fantasy samurai shows up. The historical reference art is gone, and they replaced it with just essentially, you might call Legend of the Five Rings style art. And it's the same rules. Kind of. They don't have swords anymore. You have turn order markers. They have these diamond-shaped markers that you reference turns with. Other than that, the rules are identical. And there's no difference. It even comes down to forming alliances, how you declare your first battles, moving armies with a general versus moving regional troops. All of this stuff is the exact same. And of course, the art in there is switched over from the historical copy art, which copies art made during the historical period of Japan, with fantasy pictures. So, there's another fantasy guy. It has the 3rd edition credits. These guys were pretty much game design. These guys pretty much just copied over the previous stuff. If they didn't, I have to look into this game really in depth. But from what I've seen, it pretty much is the same game. Part 3. Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro. So they bought Avalon Hill, but, you know. I do believe the Milton Bradley Game Master series, I forgot how exactly that Milton Bradley series got acquired over into Avalon Hill or Wizards of the Coast hands. It may have been one way or the other. I'm not sure. Now, one thing you have, they have little stickers that you can on the miniatures to show that they belong to that particular faction, that particular leader. They had something like this in the original game too. They were just simple colors instead of the back patterns, and the colors are more subdued in this game. Also, there's no styrofoam. Your fortress from which you run the game, it's, the standard impact toy plastic. They're all a bland gray. They could probably use, if you have like an enamel, lighter gray, they could probably use a dry brush just to bring out the detail. Of course, that down there is supposed to be like some kind of a rock garden. That's a detail that's new and interesting. So I have to say that these are more detailed than the previous styrofoams and can be painted up actually to some form of realism. That would be hilarious. This is actually set up in a certain way. This has the armies underneath the styrofoam. Sorry, the plastic, since they're hollow on the inside, you can store the army inside the plastic part. That's another thing to note. The IKUSa box is smaller than the Samurai Swords box. I'll have a size comparison here pretty shortly. We also have this convenient little box that has all of the pieces. It comes with the deck, which does include 4 unmarked cards, so you can replace lost cards as necessary. That's nice of them. Or you can add new things if you really want to, but why do that, right? They're the same provinces. There's no difference. All names have stayed the same. The layout of the map has stayed the same. It's an adaptation. It's not a new game. I put Koku and the Ninja in the same bag just because of, convenience. When I got these, they were all thrown in the one sump, but yeah. The Ninja's still here doing the same thing. He will kill your enemies on a roll of 8 or less, and on a roll of 9 or more, those enemies can avenge you if you fail. So there's that boyo. Battle declaration markers. I think we get like 20 of them in this set. That's good enough. 6 D12. I plan on going out and buying 6 more D12 of a different color set and putting them in the same bag so I can actually have more dice on the table. That's just how I roll. And of course, into one fat bag, I put all of the castles, Ronin, the turn order cards. Here's number 2, which looks kind of like a cursive Q. Here's turn number 2 showing for you. So yeah, you could just flip those upside down and you get to pick out of the ones that are flipped upside down and egg shuffled which one you want. So those are the accessories you get for the game that otherwise will get lost if they don't have their own small box. So and it's a nice little box. The quality of this box is very similar to like a Magic the Gathering box, whereas the quality of the IKUSa box itself is on par with Access and Allies boxes, Samurai Sword boxes. It's the same cardstock they've been using forever at Milton Bradley and Hasbro. So, underneath all of those plastic fortresses, we have these armies, and they're different. They're of a slightly different plastic that feels a little bit more bendable, and by inference durable. Bright green has become an olive drab. I think these are supposed to be red. They kind of look like a brick red or a blood red. I'm going to go with brick red for these. But yeah, it's kind of a brownish red. So the nice sharp Iineomasa red is gone. You can call these terracotta if you want to be nice with them. I guess they're supposed to be orange, but they're brown. They're a terracotta color, or a shit color if you want to call it that. They look like shit. And then, actually, they did a really nice job with the purple. It was kind of a royal purple in the original set also, but these ones kind of make it more, it feels more plattable. The other dark purple they had in the other set was a little bit closer to, you might call a royal color. And this one feels a little more like a standard bulk purple, so it could fit your standard samurai clan. Yeah. I think blue's the greatest improvement. They went from sky blue, which I've very rarely seen in samurai uniforms, to a dark navy blue, which was the Oda Toyotomi Tokugawa go-to as far as colors are concerned. It's great. Yeah, here's my boys. Let's get all the guns for Nobunaga and go blast those Takeda guys out of the next century. If I had to recommend anything, yeah. Repainting, no one wanted to repaint. Repainted these ones that are like a really dull terracotta color might be the best way to go about things. I don't know of a samurai that wore crap brown as their standard color. Samurai were actually very on target of having brighter colors in their forces. This is the game board. As you can see, it's pretty much the same game board. I don't see any much difference to it besides the fact that the historical style art has been replaced by the fantasy style art. So you have that instead. Also, each of those are what you get as like the front cover of your Fortress screen. You get those. So here you can see the army containers for the armies you can build in this game. It's very hard to tell a difference in these two. This one is actually more of a dark brown. This one's more of an orangish brown. But it's kind of hard to see the difference in the colors. At a glance, I couldn't. But I could. So I also find it funny that Oda doesn't have the blue color, whereas that's exactly where he'd be. And of course, just like last time, the clans are all mixed up with people they didn't fight with in the past. So you get like a weird combination of who's on whose side. I like these though, they're fun. These are the fortress screens. Green. This guy reminds me of the Dragon Clan for some reason. Oh well. Those clans never fought with each other on the in the past anyway. They look cool. They do. They look really cool. And on the back, they have the exact same rules. I mean, there's no difference. The price is the same. The values are the same. The action phase is the same. I'm seriously, guys, this is the exact same game repeated. The game designer, don't hire that guy. He just converted the game over. That's all he did. He did a copy-paste job. Overall, I think the game is cool. If you couldn't get a hold of the older copies and you wanted to get a new copy, and you had like kids around the house or your friends were known for breaking shit, under any of those circumstances, you might want a new and different set. This one's actually designed to be more durable than the original samurai swords or shogun. So I would say buying this is a smarter idea than buying samurai swords, which has more flimsy, easier to break. They're stiffer. The original samurai figures were. These guys are a bit more bendy. It's probably a better idea to store the samurai long ways, so you can kind of roll them up and then put them inside the fortress. Like that. That's probably a better way to store the samurai. So I guess I'll do that. Of course it makes sense to just let them go to the bottom of the bag, but sometimes your instincts work against you. I like the purple faction. I like the blue faction. I like the green faction. I don't know what they're supposed to represent in the real samurai world. They don't do a good job of doing real samurai world in this version of the game, even though all the names are still there and nothing has changed. So my thoughts on IKUSa. I do like the game because it's the exact same game. It's just a different reprint of it. And if you need a copy you play with guests or people that you introduce the game to, you can introduce them with this version of the game. I myself like the original. I'm going to go ahead and bring the original down just to compare them side by side box-wise so you can see exactly what I mean. This is the box for samurai swords. And when you do this, you can tell. This box is a little taller by about an inch. This box is wider by about 2.5 inches. And it's about the same height from top to bottom this way. It's the same distance. So samurai swords, you can see this is all like historical copy art, except for this guy who they painted specifically for the... Actually, each of these guys, there's a bunch of characters in there they actually made for the game too. There's a lot of reference toward the old history, and I love that with the original game. Originally sold as Shogun. Yes, it was. And now it's sold as IKUSa. I don't think this is in print anymore. I can double check on that. But my guess with this is that it had a limited print run, and then they reprinted it when they wanted to. This was made in 2010, and I haven't seen this on the shelves since 2016 or 17. So this may be an out-of-production game. It may not. Ta-ta! Either way, I like these big box games where you can play big sweeping battles with lots of miniatures, and you don't have to go play 40K to do it. These are what got me into the hobby, and honestly speaking, these kind of games are probably the best way to keep it, because then you can do more with your actual life instead of spending hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars building miniatures. But I digress. Some people like wasting their lives on miniatures games, I myself included. However, if you have a real life and a real family, you just want to indulge in the occasional war game from time to time, games like IKUSa and the rest of the old Milton Bradley Game Master series were very good games to have kicking around. Thank you for watching my video, and may the dice roll ever in your favor.